And the webinar for today is titled Career Conversations with Parents, and we're happy to be joined by our presenters, Megan Shea and Jen Curry. Ladies, you have the floor.
Thank you. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. This is Megan Shea. I'm an assistant professor at New York Institute of Technology in the school counseling program. And I'm so excited to be here presenting on this topic with my partner here, Jen Curry. We've been working on these documents in collaboration with ASCA and the Colorado Department of Education over the last couple of years. And so this parent piece is really important to us and something that we feel like it doesn't get quite enough attention. So in my past, I have been a school counselor in Washington State. I was mostly in middle school and have done things like president of the Washington School Counselor Association, that kind of thing. And just excited to be a part of this whole collaboration and talking about career conversations.
Hey everybody, this is Jen, and I am a professor at Louisiana State University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And I have also been a school counselor, elementary, middle, and high school, and found that I needed to be able to work with parents quite a bit in those roles. I've also been not only a professor, but an associate dean at the university level, and had to work quite a bit with parents in the high school to college transition, and found that parents had a lot of questions, not only related to the academics, but also to financial literacy and career, and what kinds of opportunities their students would have coming into the college and after leaving the university. So when Megan and I got this opportunity to work with Colorado Department of Education and the American School Counselor Association, we were thrilled because we knew that this was really important work. In addition to the documents you're going to see today, there are documents related to academic counseling and work with employers and career conversations that are available on the ASCA website. So special thanks to Colorado Department of Education and ASCA for taking on these projects, and these are free downloadable resources for school counselors.
So let's get started with what the learning outcomes we hope for today. So we hope to identify the theoretical foundations of the ASCA career conversation. We aren't going to spend a lot of time on this, but what we are hoping for is that you walk away with an understanding that these were not just based on just what Jen and I thought were good ideas to ask parents. We really did a lot of research to do these, and were incorporated theoretical perspectives, and also looked at quite a bit of research in order to determine, okay, what would be the best kinds of questions to ask developmentally and to connect to the ASCA mindsets and behaviors. We're hoping that you're able to articulate all the uses of the career conversations regarding assessment, prevention, intervention, and collaboration in relation to parents. We also hope that you are able to apply the ASCA career conversations to individual parent cases and base them on the ASCA mindsets and behaviors. We are hoping that you are able to develop an objective based on the ASCA mindsets and behaviors, and then identify an ASCA career conversation intervention for students and parents. We want to identify ways to use the ASCA career conversations in meetings with individual parents, small groups of parents, and parent workshops. And ultimately, we are going to ask you to think about designing a parent workshop using the ASCA career conversations. So thank you very much, and we hope that we achieve those goals. So next, we have some polling questions for you. We're going to have a few interactive polling type questions where we ask you to post to a discussion or just indicate where you're at. So here's what we would like you to reflect on. On a scale of 1 to 5, how well do you, 1, engage parents in students' career development, 2, assess parents' knowledge of career and college resources, 3, provide parent support in key secondary and post-secondary transitions. So what we're looking for is on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 meaning you really don't think, you have a lot of work to do in the area, and 5 would be, I'm doing as much as I possibly can, and I know I'm super awesome in this area. So if you could just take a moment and assess where you think you're at.
And you can type those those responses into the questions section there so that we can capture, the consensus of the audience. Again, the questions tab in the Go-To panel on the right-hand side of your screen. All right, so we have some 2s coming in, a 2.5. Mostly 2s. We have some 3s, a couple of 1s, 1 4.
Great. Well, when I was in school, I wish I would have been that 4 person. I think I would have placed myself more in the 2.5, 3 category. But now, having a little more experience and trying different things with parents, doing more research on it, I'm just feeling like, okay, I wish I would have known then what I know now about how to engage parents. So what I think I did well, and some of you may be doing these very, very similar things, I did things like once a year I would hold a series of parent workshops. So for example, I did like a mini conference for people. So they would go to one classroom and receive one workshop there that was like 30 minutes, and then move to another classroom and receive another workshop there. And they were on topics such as transitioning to high school, college readiness, financial aid, understanding, that kind of topic. I liked that kind of event. It was fun, it was interactive, and it seemed to get a lot of parents out. What I don't think I did well was do much more beyond kind of a one-shot deal. I don't think I fully incorporated it in parents into my whole program in thinking about changing the culture in terms of career and college readiness. The other thing that I don't think that I did well was I didn't really have a full understanding of what career development meant. I tended to fall more in the lines of what a lot of times people talk about in terms of career and college readiness in relation to understanding financial aid and how academics go into that and that kind of thing. I didn't really understand that career development really is a lifelong process, that kids are learning before they get into school. And so our jobs as educators and school counselors is to really help with the whole overall career development process, not just career and college readiness. So the way that we view career and college readiness is that it falls under the umbrella of career development as a whole. Career development actually encompasses a whole lot more than what you typically read about and learn about, especially related to college readiness and what seems to be a lot of what people talk about and what school districts seem to get a lot of pressure on. So what was important to us is that we connected this to the mindsets and behaviors. And we wanted to do this because it's such a great foundation for people, but just in speaking for myself, and Jen Curry can speak to this or not, we wanted that to be the foundation of what we did, but we also kind of wanted to help people operationalize, like, what would this actually look like if you were talking to people and you were wanting to tap into each of the ASCA mindsets and behaviors. So that's why we ended up going that direction. And what we ended up doing was creating quite lengthy documents. And we happen to have Eve Pugh on the line here with us, which is fabulous, from the Colorado Department of Education. She's the one that we were working with a lot. We created these very extensive documents, and which is where you'll see that we have posted there the different columns of parents, questions for parents, questions for community members, and questions for students. Eve's thought was, holy cow, these are long documents. Let's also have career conversation starters. So I'm hoping that if you don't have access to the career conversation starters, they're a nice little easy handout for you to take a look at, but it doesn't have any of the parent information on it. So I wanted to mention that those are there for kind of easier perusing, but to really get into it and get more extensive information, you'll want to use either the high school or the middle school career conversations document. Let's see here. So, Jen Curry, do you want to take on the theoretical underpinnings? Jen?
Jen, you're likely muted.
I have it off mute. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah. So I have gone through some of the theoretical underpinnings that we used in developing the career conversations, and I just want to briefly touch on what those are, so that as you are going through them, you'll be able to see what the foundations were. So some of you may have been out of your programs for a while, maybe you've been in the field for a while, and maybe some of these you'll remember, but if you don't, we just wanted to give you a quick reminder of these different theories. So we definitely used Bronfenbrenner, and you may remember ecological systems theory. So Bronfenbrenner postulated that, of course, nobody develops in a bubble, and that we are all constantly developing in multiple systems, and those systems include the microsystem, which is, of course, the interaction between individuals and the systems that are immediately surrounding them. And these systems have the greatest influence on the individual. Next to the microsystem is the mesosystem, and a mesosystem is the interaction between two microsystems. So if you think about a classroom, that would be a microsystem. So a child in a classroom interacting with teacher, other students, peers, that's a microsystem. Their home life or their family is also a microsystem. Maybe the parent, another sibling, that kind of thing, microsystem. When a parent meets a teacher or a school counselor, that interaction of the two microsystems is a mesosystem. The exosystem that Bronfenbrenner talked about is a system that supports the person more globally. This system constitutes things like a school board. So maybe a group that makes policy that affects an individual, but they don't actually interact with the individual on a day-to-day basis. You could also think of things like insurance panels that makes decisions about a child's health care, but doesn't necessarily interact with the child. The macro system is the larger system that we all live in but don't necessarily see. It's a system where things are constructed like customs and values around education, values around college. I'll give you an example. A lot of parents, if you talk to them, this has been pretty well researched, will tell you that it's okay for somebody to go to community college or to get a career certificate. But when it comes to their child, they only want their child to get a 4-year degree from a university. That's a cultural value. So Bronfenbrenner is one theory that we pulled from. Bourdieu wrote a lot extensively about social capital and social capital theory. Bourdieu's work has been used a lot in the development of career and college readiness capital. So students who come from homes where there's low economic capital, homes where the family has low SES, socioeconomic status, where there's high poverty, maybe have less access to things like resources, human resources, such as opportunities for exposure to career information, less exposure to college information. We look a lot at how do you increase that child's career and college readiness capital. Bourdieu wrote about several things related to that. Economic capital, which is financial capital, and so we look at increasing financial literacy. Bourdieu also wrote about increasing social capital. So we talk a lot about apprenticeships, internships. How do you help kids who haven't had exposure to the workplace gain exposure to workplaces? That's all part of social capital theory. Kids who have not had exposure to parents who have professional or even family members who have professional experiences, how do they gain that through opportunities for interviewing, opportunities to build a resume, or to get exposure to people who have a lot of professional experiences. The counseling theories we pulled from included solution-focused, narrative, where people create their own stories about their lives, create their own vision for their life, motivational interviewing, joining with clients that might be resistant or hesitant for some reason. And then career development theories we pulled from were lifespan, life space, Donald Super's work. So helping students not only think about what career they might want, but how that might fit into the plan for their life, into their culture, and into whatever values they have in terms of family. Social learning theory, how do you build efficacy for somebody? Efficacy for post-secondary options, efficacy for pursuing a career, building that resilience and perseverance. And then constructivist theory, how do you help people make meaning of their careers in their life? What does a career mean for you? What does work mean in the context of your life? So those were all things that we looked at. Okay, and Megan's going to talk about the premises we used when we developed these.
So one of the overall premises that we don't have here, but you'll notice when you're looking through the career conversations, is that it doesn't actually just touch on what you would typically think of as career development. It really, the career development in reality touches on personal, social, social, emotional, and also academic development. So it really encompasses all three areas in helping somebody develop into career readiness. So number one, all students have the opportunity to explore interests, abilities, values, and goals with a certified school counselor. So we know that sometimes not all students get the opportunity to do this, and so we just wanted to make it that this is for all students, not just for students who come down to the counseling center because somebody sent them down or they personally refer themselves wanting to come down and learn more about something. This is for everybody. And you really never know who those students are that have not explored interests and abilities and values. Sometimes your top students in your school may not have had a lot of career conversations at home. All students have the freedom of post-secondary training and career choice. So what this means, and this was important to us because there is so much talk about college readiness, but what this means to us is that everybody gets to choose what post-secondary training means for them. And so although we want every student to be ready and prepared and have the ability to go to college, if that's not actually what they want to pursue, then that's okay. We all get the choice to kind of choose our own career paths. And as school counselors, we want to support that. Career development engages students, parents, and community partners. So as you all know, that's why you're here. It's not just working with the students. We'll probably get the most growth from students if we're able to engage other stakeholders as well. Career development is a lifelong process beginning at pre-K. So things are already starting to happen for kids before they even get into school, things that we don't even realize are happening. Things start happening like discerning, what gender can go into what type of career, or who's able to go into certain types of careers in terms of specific populations. So it's just something to keep in mind that the kids are learning even when we're not teaching them. So it's our job to give them actually informed information starting even in elementary school. Students have the right to change their career aspirations and goals at any time. So we don't want them to get into a track and then not be able to change, their opinion or their mind as they learn about themselves and about the careers that are out there. And career conversations, we hope, are used in a primarily strength-based way. So as you go through it, you'll probably see that kind of woven throughout. Okay, Jen, take it away.
Okay, so we're actually going to walk you through how to use these right now. So you have the background of this, and now we'd like to give you an example and walk you through. And so here's how you use them. First, you're going to determine which mindset and behavior you're going to be using based on the student's needs. So we'll do that in just a moment. Then you're going to find the corresponding question for the student, parent, or community member that you're working with, and then determine which question is most relevant for the situation or which questions. So we're going to do that now. So these are kind of the 3 steps you're going to go through. So we're going to start with a vignette or a scenario. And this is very recent. This is a real case. We have changed names. We're using a pseudonym. And I'll read it out loud. Just follow along if you wouldn't mind. And we'll call the student Jonas. So Jonas, an 8th grade student, lives with his grandmother, Brenda. His grandmother asked for a conference with the school counselor because she received his high school 6-year plan paperwork, and Jonas wrote that he was interested in the automotive career track. When Brenda meets with the school counselor, she insists that the school counselor should change Jonas's plan to HVAC, so heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, because, quote, in the South, we always need people who can do air-conditioned work, and all he'll learn in automotive is how to change oil. He can't make money doing that. The school counselor asks Brenda if she has discussed the change with Jonas, and Brenda replies, yes, but he says he won't be happy if he doesn't work on cars. He has always loved cars and tinkering with engines. He wants to stay in automotive. He has a dream of owning his own repair and collision shop, but there's no money in that. His uncle does AC repair. I know there's money in that, and he can get Jonas a job. I asked Jonas if he did auto, how much he could make, how much schooling he needs, how much does it cost, and he didn't even know. I told him he just needs to do AC repair, and then he can buy himself a nice car. Okay, so we're gonna walk through this. So let's think a little bit about what's happening there with this grandmother. What's happening with grandma? Okay, so before you even start, remember that we want to kind of have a strength-based perspective here. So first you want to stop and think for a moment, what might, Brenda, that's the grandmother's name, what might she be feeling? Is there a way here that we can have people type in some answers on that, Jen Walsh?
Yep, they can type in their question or their answers in the question section of the GoTo panel on the right-hand side of their screen.
Okay, so So let's just start there. So just to empathize with her, how do you think maybe she's feeling about her grandson Jonas's choice? What is some feelings she might be having?
All right, we have some people typing in. One person says she may be feeling insecure about the options for his future. Another person says that she's feeling concerned. She's nervous. He isn't making a smart choice. Those are the answers we've gotten so far.
Yeah, so nervous, concerned, anxious, worried, any of those kinds of things. So we want to have some empathy for her. And sometimes people aren't really sure how to take a parent, grandparent, guardian's reaction when they come in and they maybe feel very stern about trying to get a student to change a career choice or insistent that they change a career choice. So stepping back and thinking about what is it underlying this insistence. And then what thoughts or concerns, so that might be the feeling. So what thoughts or concerns might Brenda have driving her insistence? So we talked first about the feelings. So now what are her thoughts? So if we could have some people type in, what maybe is she thinking?
All right. She might want him to have a stable career. He needs to choose something with a good job outlook. She doesn't want him living with her as an adult. He knows the security in one career versus the other. That she knows about HVAC, but not about careers in cars. She is thinking about the convenience. It's quick and it's what she knows.
Yeah, I think all of these are right on.
Mm-hmm.
So all of those sound right. So she may have some, not only the fear about uncertainty about his future, but now she wants him to have something stable. She knows for sure that he can make money in this one field. She knows that there's going to be demand for this field and that it pays well. She wants him to have stability. Probably is concerned about what will happen to him if I'm not here. Wants to know that he can take care of himself, right? So this is kind of driving her insistence that he choose this one field. Okay, so what skills, from what you heard, does she appear to have based on this vignette? Did anybody hear some skills she does seem to have? Or knowledge?
Connections to the community, future forward thinking, advocacy for her grandson.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's what's coming in so far.
Okay, those are great. I would add to that, and I agree with all of those. I would add to that she also seems to know that there are things you need to know about a career before making a decision about the career, because she has asked him, what do you know about how much training you need? How much is it going to cost to do this? And that in and of itself says that she knows there are things you need to know before you make a decision about a career. And what skills might she be lacking? We're not for sure, so we don't want to assume she's lacking anything, but what might she be lacking?
She might be lacking listening skills, knowledge.
Yeah.
About the automotive industry, an understanding of the importance for her career fulfillment and happiness. The knowledge of the auto mechanic field.
Those are all great. I would agree with all of those. Yeah. Yeah. And so, and this happens a lot. We get people who panic, and then because they're panicked, you know, they just want really badly for their child to do well, their student. And because they're a little bit panicked, it keeps them from listening. They become very directive. And then when they're being very directive, they're not really thinking so much about the broader picture of career. That's really our expertise. And then they may not know how to do a lot of this decision making and exploring. So that's where we can really step in. So kind of really taking a step back and looking at what's driving the behavior, and then what maybe do they already know and are able to do well, and then how can we bridge the gap for what they don't know how to do, can also be helpful. So here's what I would like for you to do. We don't have the mindsets and behaviors pulled up here, but what we do have pulled up, if you look on your screen, you're going to see the Middle School Career Conversations PDF. We're going to pull that up. And this is what it looks like. Okay, so hopefully everybody has a chance to pull that up. I'm going to give you a moment to pull that up. And we're going to go back real quick to our questions, which were determine the mindset and behavior based on the student's need. Okay, so first we're going to determine a mindset and behavior that we're going to look at based on the student's need. So if you look at the left-hand side, you'll see the mindsets and behaviors listed. So what is it maybe that Jonas needs to work on based on what his grandmother has told you? What is it doing so well? Well, she told you that she had asked him a list of things, or she told the school counselor, she's asked him a list of things, and he doesn't know any of them about the career. We know he likes automotive things. We know he likes looking and working on engines. He loves cars, but he couldn't really tell her anything about what training he would need, how much it would cost. What does he really know about cars? So when Megan and I were thinking about which mindset and behavior we would want to work on with Jonas, we chose behavior learning strategy number 9. I have it pulled up on the screen, so hopefully everybody can see it. And that is gather evidence and consider multiple perspectives to make informed decisions. So hopefully you can see that's on the left-hand side of your screen. That's the mindset and behavior. In the first column, and you can see my cursor over it, these are questions you would ask to a parent. In the second column, these are questions you would ask to a community partner. And in the third or last column, these are questions that you would ask to a student. Since we're working with a parent, here are 2 questions you could ask. Well, this is grandparent, but these are the 2 questions you could ask to her. How does Jonas go about making important decisions? And here's a second question. As you think about Jonas's future and the importance of the decisions Jonas will make in terms of career and college, what types of information would you like to see him consider in the decision-making process? Now, you are not going to be asking both of those questions. What you're going to do is you're going to find the corresponding questions, which we just did, and then you're going to find which question you think would be most fitting to ask, which is the most relevant. So we found the mindset and behavior, which we said behavior learning strategy 9, gather evidence and consider multiple perspectives to make informed decision. That's the one we would choose for Jonas. And the 2 questions that went with it, I just read them to you. By the way, we would replace the word your child with Jonas. So the question that Megan and I thought was best to ask his grandmother is, as you think about Jonas's future and the importance of the decisions he will make in terms of career and college, what types of information would you like to see Jonas consider in the decision-making process? So looking at the career conversation questions, instead of asking both questions, we would just ask this one and see what she says. From there, we would hopefully develop an objective for Jonas. Our objective would be based on what should Jonas know and be able to do as a result of an intervention. And we can refer back to the mindsets and behaviors to write that objective. Now, remember, Jonas is still in 8th grade, so he has time to develop quite a bit because he's going to go through 9th grade and 10th grade. So he still has time to learn how to explore a career. So when we were thinking of an objective for him and looking at this behavior learning strategy, this is what we wrote. Jonas will explore careers under consideration and find out information such as mean salary, market growth in the area, training needed, typical day on the job, necessary skills and knowledge required, and related careers. This is something he should be able easily to do. Particularly in 9th grade, many students learn how to use things like the Occupational Outlook Handbook and ONET. So I would expect that Jonas would be able to demonstrate this objective. Now, what about for his grandmother? What do you want his grandmother to be able to do as a result of the intervention? Because certainly, as many of you pointed out, there's some things here that we would like for her to be able to do. So hopefully, we would also want something from her. So I would like for Brenda to allow and support Jonas to do career exploration. So here's what we wrote. Brenda will allow and support Jonas in exploring career options and making an informed career decision. Now, this may take some conversation about why doing career exploration is important and allowing him to grow in his ability to explore careers and to demonstrate the skills that we just talked about in his objective. So what we would like to do now is to walk you through another one, but let you make some of this, do some of the steps this time. So that was just one example. So I'm going to turn this over to Megan.
Okay, so the next example is going to be working more with groups of parents. And one thing that I wanted to know is Jen and I were talking about developing objectives for working with individual students. What we recognize is that you are probably not going to be writing down objectives for each kid that you work with. But this is something that you might want to do in your mind, like what really is the goal? And you're probably already doing those kinds of things. But we just were showing you how to have a clean connection between having an objective, linking it to mindsets and behaviors, the career conversations. And then the nice thing about having an objective, I think the best thing about it is that it gives you an easy way to measure it. So once you have the objective written, it's easy for you to say, okay, how am I going to actually measure whether or not my intervention worked or not? So with individual kids, you may sometimes just do that in your mind. With more group, large-scale interventions, you may want to start documenting that because that's part of you collecting data and showing people and knowing for yourself what's working. So the next vignette is going to focus on parent needs. So you work in a high school where many parents have not gone to college. About 40% of kids receive free and reduced lunch, and 25% identify as Latino or Latina. You are concerned about parents having the skills to support and encourage kids to receive post-secondary training. You conducted an informal needs assessment and find out many parents are concerned about how to pay for college. You also learn that many parents don't know how to search for college information on the internet. And like Jen, this is also a real scenario that I just encountered last year when I was working with a group of middle school and high school parents. So we'd first like you to take a look and identify a mindset and behavior that you think corresponds to this scenario. And please post your response to the chat board. So what would you say this most connects to? And I'll put the vignette back up here. So take a look at it's a high school, so you can look at the high school career conversations page. On the left-hand side of the page, you'll see the mindsets and behaviors. So kind of quickly look through, see if anything stands out to you, and if you could post that, that would be great.
All right, I think folks are reading everything and making their decision.
Okay. I know it's a lot of information to look through.
All right, I'm still not getting any responses.
Okay.
So
here's what we pulled out. Apply media and technology skills, which is BLS 5. So that's the mindset and behavior. So we're wanting to focus in this area to help parents understand how to find information and where to go to find information on the internet. So next, we'd like you to take a look based on that BLS 5, mindset and behavior, apply media and technology skills. What are the corresponding questions for parents you are working with? And what questions do you feel are relevant for the situation? So as you take a look, you'll notice that, do you have internet access at home? That's a big one. We know that we have lots of parents that may not have internet access at home, although that is probably changing with smartphones. So probably more and more parents have smartphones. Can we assist you in finding a convenient location for your child to access the internet for academic purposes if needed? So our sample objectives for parents, and this is for parents. Parents will fill out the FAFSA. Parents will use the internet to search for scholarships to assist their child in their searches. Parents will know how to use the internet to search for college admission criteria and college tuition costs to assist their child in their searches. So one thing that Jen and I talked a lot about was, we don't want to make it sound like we're teaching parents to do this so that they take over the job of doing these things. We want kids to be independent and self-motivated and think for themselves. But we also want parents to know and understand how to do it so that they can encourage kids, maybe support them, maybe give them any tips that they have learned in the process, and just be a part of the process with their kids. So the way that I have done this is I happen to have a grant where I would have the ability to meet with 100 middle school and high schoolers from underrepresented populations and who are also on free and reduced. I met individually with them and was able to do these searches individually with them based on their own interests and things that they wanted to learn about. And then we developed a little bit of a plan for them. But then what I did for parents was I showed them what I did with their kids in a larger parent group. So I was able to say, here's where I went, here's what we looked for, here's the types of information that you're able to find. And what I did with that, which I'm kind of a big fan of recording any kind of workshop that I do and then being able to post it so that anybody who's not able to attend can kind of view it at their own time. So that's what I did. I recorded it for people who couldn't attend and then posted it and emailed that link out to everybody. So sample objectives for students would be students will fill out the FAFSA. They will use the internet, such as Big Future, to search for scholarships. Students will use the internet, such as Big Future, to search for college admission criteria and college tuition costs. Big Future is just a site that I find to be really useful. It's through the College Board. You all may have other sites that you prefer. This is just one that I've found to be really helpful and user-friendly. One thing that has been interesting to me that I wish would have been around when I was a kid is the ability to search for scholarships for kids starting as young as age 13. So I know a lot of times we don't start scholarship searches with kids or show them how to do it until their junior or even senior year. But kids can start applying for scholarships as young as 13. There are some that are out there. And when you use these internet or these search engine sites searching for scholarships, you're able to put in criteria a lot of times, like, what age range the scholarship is looking for. So the nice thing about that is that kids are able to accrue a lot more scholarships that way if you start young with them. So a sample intervention parent workshop series might look like you have local FAFSA experts walk parents through the FAFSA. You could possibly have a panel of funding experts to present to parents. You could do in a computer lab would be ideal if you have parents searching and applying for scholarships and college admissions. And using a calendar to keep track of students, to keep track of deadlines. So I know a lot of these already exist out there about, when kids should start looking at college, what decisions need to be made by certain times, when are certain deadlines, just to kind of keep parents on track. You may already have it. If you're in a high school, you probably already have a calendar that you're using. If you're not, I know that there's a lot out there, or you can develop your own. Okay, Jen Curry.
Okay, so I want you to think about this from a high school perspective. So we're going to be talking about a new junior in high school, and you are the school counselor. So a junior stops by to talk to you about an apprenticeship he will be doing at a tech company. This is a software development company. He was selected for the apprenticeship out of a large pool of applicants. The apprenticeship is a 3-year commitment, so 2 years of high school, 1 year post-high school. He wants to do the apprenticeship, but is not sure if he will stick with it after a year. He says, if I don't want to do it anymore, then I'll just take band next year instead of doing the apprenticeship. His parents agreed and have told him that he should just quit the apprenticeship if he doesn't want to do it. The student's career goal is to be a computer programmer. So we want you to think about, if you look at the high school career conversations, and think about, let me pull these back up. Number one, I'm going to give you a hint though, where you might want to look. I'm going to have you look in the area of self-management skills. So if you'll start here in the area that's green, behavior, self-management skills, and we'd like for you to look in that area for a mindset that you would be a behavior, one of the mindsets or behaviors that you would be working with first with the student. So if everybody could take a moment to try to find one and the corresponding questions for the parent. So that's going to be column 1 here and then column 2. So if you could post your response, which mindset or behavior did you come up with? Jen Walsh, did you get any?
Yep, it looks like we have some people saying demonstrate self-discipline and self-control. Question number 4 for the parents, and then also demonstrate perseverance to achieve long and short-term goals. And then the same thing from another individual.
Okay, that is actually the one I also chose, was demonstrate perseverance to achieve long and short-term goals. I actually recently had somebody have this conversation with me where the person just wasn't sure. They wanted to stick with something long-term that was an outstanding opportunity and matched their career goal long-term, but just weren't, maybe just weren't sure. And it may have been a maturity issue. And so the parents were supporting the student in not making a more mature long-term decision. So if you look at the perseverance one, but I do agree also that that the other mindset or behavior that was chosen would also work for this one. But if you look at, and I have it pulled up here, demonstrate perseverance to achieve long and short-term goals, you can see here that there are 5 questions, and there would be several here. And you might look real quick at the 5 we have pulled up. Okay. And which of these 5, maybe 1 or 2 of them, might be ones that you could use to talk about this issue with a parent? Jen, do you have any answers on that one?
Let me see here. Looks like 1 and 2. Question number 1. Question number 2.
Those for a more mature student, and by that I mean age-wise, chronologically. So junior would probably be some of the better ones to choose, particularly for this scenario. So could you give me an example of a time that your son set a goal and stuck with it until he accomplished it? Setting goals and sticking to them can be hard. What are some ways we can encourage him to remember and stick to his goal for this apprenticeship? You know, how can we work together to help him remember that this is tough? 3 years is a long commitment. You know, what can we do to work together? So you're really trying to get that parent to align with you. There's that motivational interviewing. There's that joining. So you might hear that back to that theory of motivational interviewing. So I would agree that those two questions would really get to the heart of that issue. Okay, so Megan, I'm going to turn this over to you because I know we need to probably get to some questions and answers.
Yes, so we're running out of time here. Jen Walsh, do we have time for questions and answers?
Sure, as long as you all have time.
Okay, great. One thing that I did want to mention was that it totally left my mind. So never mind. I don't want to mention anything. Go ahead. If anybody has any questions, Jen and I will try to answer them for you.
Okay, we have a question coming in. How could this be tailored to a lunch session with more than one student? Is that possible, or would it only work for students with the same mindset?
Oh, that's a really good question. So essentially, I think that you would want to determine what mindsets you're wanting to tackle. What's the most important thing for the kids to know and learn? So I'm hoping I'm responding to your question and what you're looking for. But you would want to probably talk to your administration to see, you know, what needs the building has, and try to tailor your decision of what mindset and behavior is based on, you know, different information that you have from other folks as well. You can most certainly choose more than one mindset and behavior. I think it's just easier sometimes if you choose one and kind of stick to that. But if you choose more than one and find kids that are needing to focus in that area, then I think that would definitely work. Did that answer that question? Jen Curry, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, we're doing a career conversation webinar for groups, right? Don't we have one scheduled?
Yes.
Because so a group approach is a little bit different. And I would really recommend maybe joining that career conversation, because it actually has to be done kind of almost more like you would do a classroom unit or a classroom lesson, but targeted really to one or two mindsets or behaviors at a time to really get any kind of true outcome that you can measure.
Yeah, I think also the career conversations with individual students webinar would maybe be helpful for that as well.
Yes.
And that is going to be taking place December 13th. And then the career conversations for large and small groups will be taking place on January 11th. All of those webinars, and then we also have career conversations for community partners taking place on January 18th. So all of those webinars will be taking place in the next couple of weeks. So if you're interested in the remaining webinars in this series of the Career Conversation series, please do visit the 2017 webinar series page on the ASCA website and make sure that you get registered for those. All right.
Are there any other questions?
Yep, I don't think we have any other questions. We have some people saying they'll sign up for that, so that's great news.
Oh, great.
but no other questions have come in. So I think we
Okay.
can go ahead and close. So
Great.
thank you, ladies, for the presentation today. As
Thank you so much.
yes.
Thank you all.
As I mentioned, we do have those webinars, the other remaining career conversation webinars on the webinars page. And then we also have obviously other webinars in the whole 2017 webinar series as well taking place. So please do check those out if you're interested. And thank you so much again, Jen and Megan, for the presentation today. And thank you everyone for joining us. Have a great day.
Thank you all.
Thank you.